Right, I've done some modifications here in this wiring. Find a little pointy tool, use this. The two wires, I can't see fuck all here. Right, the two wires, two sets of wires that were coming up out of here that went to each flasher unit, whatever you want to call them. I've cut the plugs off them, joined them into one, run a single cable round, which will come down and sit in with the wiring, if you know what I mean, down either side of the battery. And same on this side, you can just see that one. And on the resistors I'm using, I've put the end little plug onto that, and the other end I'm going to put on the earth of the battery. This is a 4-terminal battery, so you've got terminals here and terminals here. So I'm going to use the earth terminal here, and I'm just going to run both. Each resistor's got its own earth on it, if you know what I mean, where I'm going to earth it out, which will just push in, tighten down. Then if one packs in, for instance, unscrew it, just take the one out. I don't need to cut the wire in, because I have seen it before where people have done this and they've put one earth clamp on with two wires going into it, which usually is fine, but as I say, if one decides not to work, you've got to cut your wire and start again. So I've also cleaned a lot of the, sat it on a thing, block of sandpaper, and sanded the bottom off so that it's flush. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fit it with the heatsink pasting. So I need to go and get that, as it's still in the cupboard. So I'll knock you off for a sec, I'll come back and I'll start putting these together properly. Back in a minute. Right. Bugger. That's the stuff. Dow Corning 340 heatsink. It actually says heatsink compound. Basically it's just a heatsink paste. Right, I'll just see what this is. I'll be back in a sec. Right. So, just take the top off this stuff. You really don't need loads of this stuff. It's a while since I've used it, so hopefully it'll still be okay. It's just a paste, so it shouldn't be. Get rid of that end bit though. Right, and you see there's just a tiny little dab on my finger, and just spread it on the bottom of the heatsink. Just cover the bottom, and basically that's it for that one. You really don't need a lot. It's not a case of, oh, more's better, because it isn't. Right, so stick that on there, find my little bolts, and my Allen key. Tighten it down. And that's it. So that one just pull that into its thing. I have to follow it around. Actually, just can go back in there when I'll put a cable tie around that. But also what I've done, which I haven't done yet, which I'll do now, got a piece of heat shrink which I'm going to cover the whole connection with once I've verified that everything's working. That will go over there, I'm just a bit fiddly at the minute. So I'll stick that down there for now. And as I say, when I've got the other one done as well, that will go into there. And just get this side on now, so I'll just stop you for a sec while I get the other one and I'll come back. Right, I've done the same again. I've put the paste on the bottom of the heatsink. Just position it and get the little bolts. Found the Allen key as well. There it is. I don't know if you can see from there. Once I'm out of the way with my hands, you might be able to see a bit better. But if not, I'll explain. Just get this tightened up. Right. So I don't know if you can see, but these relays, I can't see so well in that little screen, but these relays are where it's going to the live line, which that's classing that as the live line, is where it's got the 50 on there. So it's 50 watts, so many ohms. 6 ohms I think it was, and then it's the same on this side. 50 is at this end, so if you notice you've got the relays are actually, I always like to put the live, what I call the live end, at the 50. Or if you were reading it, so you'd read it this way on, it would be 50 watts, 6 ohms. So where the 50 starts, or whether it be 100 watts or 10 watts or 5 watts, depending on what size resistor you're using, I always like to put the live end on the where you'd read it. So from left, you read from left to right, so I'd have my live end on the left. The earth would be coming out the right side. Now, I don't know if it makes a shite of difference which way around you put them, but that's just the way I do it. Now there might be some leckies out there that'll put me right and say you're putting them the wrong way around, but they've always worked for me that way, so I'll carry on that way. I've already put my heat shrink sleeve on this one, but as I say, I'm not going to put that on until I've tested them. So I'll put it together. That, as I say, that'll disappear down and come in with the wiring. And just be out of the way and tidy-ish. And then I just need to get me earth put in. I have to do that now. Just position these cables. Get down there. Right, and what I'll do is I'll just knock you off for a minute, move you to back at bike, we'll get the bike switched on and we'll test if it's both sides are working properly. Right, I'm back in a sec. Right, switch her on. I don't know what the crack is there, I don't know why that does that. Unless it's just because some of the things still aren't connected up. But right, I'm going to test this side indicator. And that's working perfectly. So I'll just knock that off. Try the other side. That's working perfectly, and what I'll do is I'll just bring you off and show the fronts. So I'll turn the screen around. As you can see there, that's working nicely. Just duck under this wire. And you can see the indicator, it's flashing on and off as it should, not flickery. And so that's now all sorted, which is cool. Headlight works as we tested before. So I'll just get back under this wire, get it back on the stand. Right, I'll knock that off. And it should, just turn this screen round again, and it should work spot on the hazards. Which it is, and it's equal on both sides, which is good. Knock them off. So what I'll do now is that connection I was showing you where the live side connected up. I'll just quickly get the heat shrink over them and tighten up, and pretty much for now electrically that's it, because everything's working fine. What I'll do, I'll just make sure that brake's still working. Yes, it is. Obviously I can't test the foot one yet because I haven't got a brake pedal. But yeah, and that's still an option as well. Where these lights, I've got them on as running lights at the minute, I have got the option in the wiring to swap that so they come on as brake lights. So I'm going to see what this is like when it's darker, because I'd rather be seen, i.e. the two running lights, but if the brake light's not going to be super brilliant out in the proper light, it might be better for people to see my brake lights coming on so they don't just plough into the back of me. Which they shouldn't. If they don't see one of these fucking things or hear the fucking thing, then they shouldn't have a licence, but you know how it is. Right, I'll knock you off, I'll come back in a bit. Right, I'm just gonna take you off this stand. I should have took you off before I started, really. Right, these resistors are fitted. I need to put a cable tie on these. You can see there I've put the heat shrink on both sides, but the resistors are fitted in place and they're working. So for now, the electrics are pretty finished. For now, I've been having a bit of a think. Because this light here isn't so bright, I've tested it at night. I come out the other night and I switched the light on with no lights on it in garage, and that's quite a dim light. Now I know these are bright for running lights, but what I'm thinking is just getting a light to go on here, just a flat, like one of them little strip that's quite bright, that can also be a running light, and I'm going to change these, the outer ring that I was going to use as running lights, I'm going to change them to come on as brake lights, because the brake light isn't very bright on this neither. So, but that, we'll come to that at a later time. But for now we finish with the electrics. So the next job is I'm going to put a new rear brake line on. So I'm just going to knock you off for now, I'll come back in a minute.